بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is session 4 of our study on the field of Nahw. So far we touched upon the fact that in Nahw you have singulars and you have compounds. So you have a mufrad and you have a murakkab. A singular is self-explanatory, right? It's a singular word. Murakkab is a compound of words put together, at least two words. Okay, and we said that the compound discussions are going to be left until later. Right now, we're only going to touch upon the singular words, meaning the mufrads. And we said that mufrad, a singular word, can either be an ism, a fi'l, or a harf, a noun, a verb, or a particle. Then we dived into a discussion related to the isms, which is a type of word. And we said that isms can be categorized into two categories from the perspective of whether they are indefinite or definite, meaning nakira or ma'rifa. Now we are going to dive into some rules regarding nakira and ma'rifa nouns. Okay, so we're going to do four of these today and leave the rest for the next session. Okay, so the first rule is that a noun that is nakira will often have a tanween. This tanween is called harf tankir, right? This tanween is called harf tankir. Right? Make sure you get the pronunciation right. So the noun that is nakira will often have a tanween. That tanween is called harf tankir. Meaning, when you have a nakira noun, you notice that Nakira nouns will have tanween, whether that tanween is dammatain, fathatain, kasratain, it will have tanween, right? And this tanween is called harf tankir. It enters upon a noun which is nakira, right? And it's actually there to indicate that this noun is nakira, right? Hence why it's called harf tankir. Tanween, by the way, tanween is actually a harf, because we mentioned this before, right? That when you have baitin, for example, baitin or baitun, whatever, baitun, baitan, baitin. Remember, tanween can even be dammatin, fattatin, kasratin. Tanween is actually a harf because baitun, for example, or baitan or baitin is actually this. Baitun is actually this, right? In actuality, it's this, right? Sta nun dammatun, baytun. So the harf tankir, the tanween is actually this nun sakin, which is a harf. The tanween is actually a harf, a particle, which is this nun sakin, right? Does that make sense? When you, display a tanween, a noun that has a tanween, like baytun, that tanween, when it's upon a nakira, okay, that tanween is called harf tankir. Okay, that tanween is actually a harf. Yeah, tanween is actually a harf, which is this nun sakin. Does that make sense? Hence why it's called harf tankir. So if you look at all these examples are examples of nouns that are nakira. Correct? You have kitabun, you have rajulan, and you have baitin. I purposely made three examples with all three i'rabs, whether it's dammatain, fatatain, kasratain. So then you don't get the idea that you can only have a harf tankir that's dammatain, or harf tankir that's fathatain, or harf tankir that's kasratain. No, the harf tankir, okay, will enter upon a noun which is nakira, and it can be dammatain, fathatain, kasratain. It doesn't matter which one it is, it will still be called and classified as harf tankir, right? It enters upon a nakira, right? This harf tankir. Rajulan, baitin. You see that? I know it's very difficult to actually see. If we zoom in over here, zoom in too much over here. Yeah, if you zoom in, baitun, right? It's tanween, dammatain, fathatain, kasratain. There's two dammas over here, two fathas over here, two kasras over here. So this harf tankir enters upon a noun which is nakira. Okay, it's called harf tankir, which is the tanween. and it's actually a harf, a particle, because in actuality it's like this. It's the noon sakin, right? So the noun that is nakira will often have a tanween. That tanween is called harf tanqir. So this rule has been done. The second rule is sometimes a proper noun also has tanween. Okay, so this second rule, okay, is actually connected to the first rule, right? Because we're still talking about tanween. So sometimes a proper noun also has tanween. When this happens, the tanween is not labeled as harf tankir. So he's trying to say, just because a noun has tanween, it doesn't intrinsically mean that the tanween is harf tankir, which enters upon a nakira, because a tanween can enter upon a proper noun, and a proper noun by nature intrinsically is ma'rifah. We've touched upon this, right? A proper noun is one of the types of ma'rifahs, where we said a proper noun, which is the name of a person, a place, or object. The way to figure out whether a noun is a proper noun or not is, in the English language, when you have a noun and the first letter is a capital letter, that's a proper noun. Otherwise, it's not a proper noun. That's the easiest way to actually figure out whether the noun is proper, meaning it's a proper noun or not. Okay, so a proper noun is one of the types of ma'rifah. We mentioned this, right? Example: Zaid is a proper noun, the name of a person, and is a proper noun. We know this because the first letter in the English language, when we actually translate it, okay, to the English language, the first letter is in caps lock. The reason why it's in caps lock is because it's the name of a person. Does that make sense? It's a name of a person, so it's ma'rifah. So because of this, there are some proper nouns out there that also have tanween. Now, you can't say this tanween is harf tankir, because I just said in the first rule that when a tanween enters upon a nakira, that's when it's called harf tankir, because that tanween is there to enter upon a nakira. When a tanween is entering upon a ma'rifah, when we're not going to call that tanween harf tankir, because harf tankir enters upon a nakira, and you can't have a noun which is nakira and ma'rifah at the same time. A noun is either nakira or ma'rifah. It's not both. Right? So you can't make a hybrid between the two. So just because there's a tanween on these proper nouns doesn't mean the tanween on these proper nouns are harf tankir. That wouldn't make sense. So that's why he's trying to say that just because a noun has tanween doesn't always mean that tanween is harf tankir. At times it's a tanween, yes, but it's not harf tankir, because harf tankir enters upon a nakira, and these proper nouns are ma'rifah by nature, because ma'rifah, okay, has 7 types, and one of the types is ismul alam, a proper noun, right? So example, Muhammadun Zaydun Khalidun, or Muhammadan Zaydan Khalidan, or Muhammadin Zaydin Khalidin. All of these are proper nouns, and they also happen to have tanween. But just because it has tanween, we shouldn't assume that this tanween is harf tankir, because harf tankir enters upon a nakira, and these are ma'rifas, right? These are ismul alam, right? Does that make sense? So these tanween over here entering upon Muhammad, Zayd, and Khalid are not harf tankir. They will not be identified as harf tankir. You got that? Rule number 3. The definite article in Arabic is alif lam, referred to as lam ta'rif. And we touched upon this too. When we touched upon the 7 types of ma'rifas, we said that one type of ma'rifa is called al-mu'arraf bil lam, is when a noun has alif lam. So you have a noun which is nakira, okay? It was initially nakira, and when you enter alif lam upon it, it becomes ma'rifa. It becomes definite. Example, rajulun is nakira. You enter alif lam, it becomes ar-rajulu, because ma'rifa. Does that make sense? So the definite article in Arabic is alif lam, referred to as lam ta'rif. Okay, it enters and makes a noun ma'rifa. Example, al-baytu, ar-rajulu, al-kitabu, or al-bayta, ar-rajula, al-kitaba, or al-bayti, ar-rajuli, al-kitabi. Does that make sense? So you see over here, you have this alif lam. It enters and makes the noun a ma'rifa. Okay, is referred to as lam ta'rif. Make sure you get the pronunciation of these terms right. Lam ta'rif. Okay, lam ta'rif. that make sense? Yeah. So the definite article in Arabic is alif lam, referred to as lam ta'rif. Okay. The fourth rule that we're gonna touch upon, the last rule that we're gonna touch upon today, is that when the indefinite noun with tanween is made definite through lam ta'rif, the tanween is dropped. Okay. So example, your baytun. Baytun is nakira. Okay. A house. Okay. And you add alif lam, you add the article that makes the noun ma'rifa, okay, the lam ta'rif, you add the alif lam, it becomes al bayt. Now notice over here is al baytu. It's no longer tanween based. It doesn't have a tanween. It's not al baytun. So the tanween is dropped. You know this tanween that's there when it was initially nakira, baytun, that tanween is dropped. Hence we only have a dhamma left. Al baytu. Same with the other Arabs, right? You have baytan, it will be al bayta, it will be al baytan. Same with al bayti, right? You have baytin, and then you make it ma'rifa by adding alif lam, right? It will become al bayti. So baytin becomes al bayti. So baytun becomes al baytu, not al baytun. Baytan becomes al bayta, not al baytan. And baytin becomes al bayti, not al baytin. So when this nakira becomes ma'rifa through alif lam, that tanween is dropped. That tanween is dropped. Another example we've given over here is rajulun or rajulan or rajulin. It's nakira. You add alif lam, becomes ma'rifa. So it becomes a rajulu or a rajula or a rajuli, depending upon the i'rab. It won't be a rajulun, it won't be a rajulan, or it won't be a rajulin. Another example is kitabun. You have kitabun over here is nakira. You add alif lam, it becomes ma'rifa. What happens? The tanween is dropped. So kitabun becomes al-kitabu. And the other Arabs similarly. So al-kitaba, al-kitabi. So kitaban becomes al-kitaba. Kitabin becomes al-kitabi. You won't say kitabun change to al-kitabun. No, the tanween is dropped. So it won't be al-kitabun, it will be al-kitabu. You won't say kitaban change to al-kitaban. No, the tanween is dropped and the fatha is left. So it will be al-kitab. And you won't say kitabin change to al-kitabin. No, the tanween is dropped, hence why only a kasra is left. So it won't be al-kitabin, it will be al-kitabi. Does that make sense? So these are the first four rules out of the 9 rules we want to touch upon related to nakira and ma'rifa based nouns.